Okay. Yeah. Okay, Erev Tov, everyone. So, truth, I forgot. I meant to tell the Gabayim before Mincha, but maybe it's better to make the announcement in front of everybody. So, we have this ongoing tension, which we've had over the last year and a half, and we have throughout our lives, really. When it comes to tefillah, on the one hand, we want to add in extra tefillot because of the situation that calls for it. On the other hand, things become rote. We were saying Tehillim at the beginning, and then we get used to them. And so we've gone through different phases in the shul. At one point, we were saying 2 Perkei Tehillim. Now we're saying 1 Perek Tehillim. I think it's appropriate at the time, especially considering all that's going on, that we go back to saying 2 Perkei Tehillim at the end of every tefillah. So till now, we've been saying Kuf Kaf Aleph in the morning, Kuf Lamed in the afternoon. We'll say Kuf Kaf Aleph and Kuf Lamed after Shachrit and after Mincha. We'll spend the extra 30 seconds saying an extra Perek of Tehillim, and everybody will be fine. And Bezrat Hashem, the Tehillim should be effective, and we should know only good things, and victory over our enemies, and Refuah Shlema, and the return of the Chatufim, and all the rest of it. Okay, so we started talking last night about, we're less than 30 days before the Chag, Shalim V'Dorshim B'Chot HaChag. We're now going through Hilchot Pesach. I thought it would be appropriate to use Pninei Halacha once again as the basis for these shiurim, so that way the treasurer won't think that we wasted money buying the books. So, we were talking last night about what happens if somebody leaves, somebody goes away, travels for Pesach, which might be relevant to 1 or 2 people here. And what do you have to do with the house that you leave behind where you're not going to be on Pesach? So let me read it from the Pninei Halacha we mentioned last night, but just a quick recap. I'll go into more details. So he says, Adam hanoseh lechutz la'aretz lifnei Pesach. Right? Before Pesach, somebody travels, somebody goes overseas, or not even overseas, within Israel, but goes to a different place. Your plan is only to return home after Pesach. אם הוא עוזב את ביתו בתוך 30 יום הסמוכים לחג הפסח, היינו מחג הפורים ואילך, חייב לבדוק את ביתו מחמץ קודם שיצא מביתו. But now that we are in the 30 days before Pesach, we mentioned last night, and we'll see this has a number of other ramifications as well. The fact that we are now within 30 days of Pesach, that means that if I leave my house now, I need to check it before I go. What we started talking about at the end. Even though when Pesach comes, we're going to do bitul chametz, and again, this year we know it's complicated because the timings that we do everything, we have, normally everything is on Erev Pesach. The day before Pesach, we do bdikat chametz at night, and in the morning we do the shreifat chametz and the bitul. This year, obviously, Erev Pesach is on Shabbat. You can't burn your chametz on Shabbat, and there are other changes, but we'll get to that. But in any event, everybody does bitul chametz before Pesach comes in. Okay, so you won't be at home, but you'll nullify your chametz. Nonetheless, למדנו שתקנו חכמים שבנוסף לביטול חמץ צריך גם לבדוק את הבית מחמץ. Chazal said it's not enough. It's not enough that we do bitul before Pesach. We have to do bdika as well. וכיוון שהוא בתוך 30 יום הסמוכים לפסח, כבר חלה עליו מצוות בדיקת חמץ. Since we're within 30 days, so this mitzvah of bdikat chametz has already kicked in. So therefore we do it the night before we leave. We do it without a bracha. Okay, we mentioned as well, if you're traveling before 30 days, but that's not relevant now. If you're going to come back just before Pesach, then also one needs to check before in case you get delayed and you come back and you don't have time. Now, what happens if somebody forgot to do this before they left? So he says, Misha היה צריך לבדוק את ביתו ושכח ונסע בלא לבדוק. So I forgot the night before, I was packing up the suitcases, everything was very frantic, and then I gets to Erev Pesach, and I remember, wait a minute, I didn't check the chametz at home. So the first thing you should do, really in any situation, the best thing to do is find a shaliach. So then even if I know when I'm leaving, I don't need to check, I can have a shaliach who'll check for me on Erev Pesach. So the situation is, you've left, you didn't check before, even though you were meant to, and you can't find a shaliach to check on your behalf. We're going to get to selling later. We're going to get to selling comes. Everybody jumps to this idea of selling chametz, selling the house, selling whatever. That comes much later. We'll get to that. Okay. Let's assume for now there's no sale. Okay. So So there is a difference of opinion. Chachamim said, you have to go, you have to do b'dikat chametz, you have to check your house before you leave. You didn't do it. You didn't do what Chachamim commanded you to do. So therefore, there are those who say, okay, you forgot, you remember, you need to go back home. You need to go back so that you can do the b'dikah. So he says, if it's very difficult, you're overseas or whatever, it's very late, you're not able to, so then, okay, you can rely on the bittul. However, right, like I said, we'll get to Mechirat Chametz, we'll get to later. But assuming now that you've only done bitul, but you did not do the b'dikah that you were supposed to do, Achara Pesach Yislofu Yabedet HaChametz Shebitel. You come back and you find this chametz that you left behind. You cannot benefit from it. You cannot eat that chametz now because you only did bitul. You didn't do b'dikah. You didn't do what Chachamim commanded you to do in order to. David's not happy. David's not happy.
He did the bitul, finished, that's all.
So from the Torah, you're right. Midoraita, bitul ba'al masagi. That's what we mentioned last night. That's exactly the question. It's Tosfot's first question, Sechet Pesachim, the Tosfot asked on Rashi. Rashi says, why do we have to do the b'dikah? What you're saying is essentially what Tosfot says, which is, why do we have to do b'dikah chametz in the first place? Why did Chachamim institute this whole thing? The Torah said, I need to do bitul chametz. That's enough. So Chachamim answer, no. If everyone's going to just rely on bitul chametz, okay, so you're going to say bitul is dependent on the kavanah balev. It's a very difficult thing. It's not. It's a tremendous chiddush that the Torah allows us just to do bitul on chametz and that's it. Because if when I say bitul, if I have within my mind, what does bitul mean? Bitul means either that this chametz is no longer mine, that it's ownerless, or that I'm completely removing any significance from it. It's like dust of the earth. It's not chametz anymore. It's not whiskey anymore. It's like water. It's not even water. It's nothing. Right? But I have to be 100% sincere. I have to be 100% sincere in that. If I want to then go, well, then I can't do anything. It's no longer chametz. It's no longer significant. When Pesach ends, right, and now I come back, if I have any part in my heart, if I have any part in my mind that says, I'm doing the bittul, I mean the bittul 99.9%. But at the end of Pesach, I'm going to go and I'm going to drink this whiskey, and it's not going to be dust anymore. It's going to be whiskey. So then you didn't do bittul. Then you were, it turns out, lemafreya, retroactively, that you were transgressing by Nirel, by Yematzeh, every moment of Pesach. Do you want to take that risk? Chazal didn't want us to take that risk. And therefore, Chazal said it's not enough, even though midoraita, bittul ba'al masagi, we can't rely on that. We can't rely on that. So we have to do bittul, and we have to do b'dikah. So then you can ask in the other direction. So if you're going to do b'dikah, why do you have to do bittul? Okay, the Gemara addresses that as well. So we have to do both. So that's the point. So you have to do b'dikah. When do you do the b'dikah? When do you search for the chametz? You do that the night before Pesach, or in this case, 2 nights before Pesach, the night before Shabbos. Okay. So a person who's left their house and is not going to be at home for the duration of Pesach, but they've left within 30 days. So I have that obligation as well to check the house the night before I leave. So our scenario is, I didn't do it. I didn't do what Chachamim said I have to do. So if when I remember, optimal thing is go back to your house and check for chametz. If you can't do that, it's difficult, it's extenuating circumstances. Okay, you can rely on the bittul, but relying on the bittul means that if I then go back after Pesach and I find this chametz that I had done bittul to, okay, bittul is bittul, it's serious. So now I cannot eat that chametz. I have to get rid of it. I have to throw it away because Chachamim said that any chametz which I did bittul for, but I did not do b'dikah, I'm not allowed to benefit from it. I'm not allowed to eat it even after Pesach. Okay? And therefore, now he says, Hatov bayotel shemisha nasa v'shachach livdok, that somebody who traveled and forgot to check the house, yaskil et beito lagoy v'imkot kol hachametz shebo. He says, okay, so there's one better that you can do now in that situation. Again, he doesn't say lechatchila, this is what you should do. But he says, you forgot, you've got no way of checking it. He says, if I sell the chametz that's inside the house, then I can go back afterwards when I buy it back after Pesach, then I can go and I can benefit from it. Okay, so that leads us on to another question, which is another very common question that comes up every year. And the people that are traveling, I'm leaving my house within 30 days, before 30 days, whatever it is, but people come along and say, Rabbi, forget about it. Doing b'dikat chametz the night before Pesach, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to clean. I don't want to kasha. I'm not going to be in the house. So can I just sell the house? Can I sell the entire house to a non-Jew, when I do my Mechrat Chametz, I'm closing up shop, I'm closing up the house, I'm selling everything is going to the Goy, and that's it. I don't have to check, I don't have to bdika, I don't have to be worried about anything. I come back after Chametz, after Pesach, I've got all my Chametz in my house, in my freezer, whatever. Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Does that work? So that is a big question. There are a lot of questions which this raises. But let me just say, before we answer that question, which we probably won't have time to answer it tonight, we'll answer it tomorrow. But I think one of the reasons why people get very scared by Pesach, people get very scared by Erev Pesach, Shechal v'Shabbat. Right? Everybody gets very, very nervous. There's a lot of nerves when it comes to, and I have to check the house, I have to check the chametz. Checking chametz in a house where I'm not going to be present on Pesach is relatively simple. It doesn't need to take very long. There's not much that you need to do. As we explained last night. If I'm not going to be present in the house over Pesach at all, so the idea of checking for chametz because I might come to eat it is irrelevant. I'm not going to eat it because I'm not going to be there. So like we said yesterday, when you cash your kitchen for Pesach and you have to make sure there's not even a single crumb left, because that crumb of chametz might fall into your food and that might make your food chametz, you're not going to be there, you're not going to eat it. I'm not worried about that. What am I worried about? I'm worried that within my house, there's going to be chametz, which I own, and I'm going to be over, bal yareh or bal yimatzeh. So where would I realistically have chametz? I might have in the fridge, I might have in the freezer, I might have in the cupboards, I might have in the cabinet, I have whiskey or whatever it is. So how do you check a house that you're not going to be present? You check for chametz. You open up all the places that might have a substantial amount of, significant amount of chametz in them. You look, you open up the fridge, you open up the freezer, you find a packet of pitot, okay, you throw them away, you open the cupboard, you see there's a packet of pasta. That's the bdikat chametz that we're talking about. So it's not so complicated, and it doesn't need to take very long. If I'm going to be in the house, I'm going to be eating there, whatever, that's something else. But that's all. That's the bdika that we're talking about. So it doesn't mean getting on your hands and knees. Doesn't mean scrubbing. It doesn't mean hours and hours and hours. Certainly within half an hour, I would say, and that's probably a bit too long for a house where I'm not going to be present for on Pesach. It's relatively straightforward to do the bdika the night before I go. Rabbi Kenigsberg Mincha Maariv Shiur